What's up, bros? This is Dave Koss with another Brograph talk. I'm going to talk a little bit about NAB, but not so much about specifics of software and hardware, but more about the boost or the refresh that it gave me. I've taken some notes and I may go off on a tangent, but bear with me. This is kind of a stream of consciousness thing. So I've been trying to shake things up in my life a lot lately, keep it fresh, if you will. You fall into a rut sometimes with work and with family life, and it's hard to break the monotony and keep a fresh outlook or perspective on your life and your career. And I'm doing things like looking at the way I work, looking at the way I do business, the way I go about my day-to-day activities, my family life, eating habits, internet surfing habits, workout habits, the whole thing. I'm trying hard to make only the good things stick. Like working out, getting up early if I can, all that kind of thing. And thinking in terms of keeping it fresh, although that's kind of douchey and cliche sounding, but I couldn't think of a better word. I've been learning a lot lately that the things that I want to do aren't going to happen if I fall into ruts, and that the present is the time to do them. So procrastination, distraction, it comes really easy for me. It probably does for you too. Living more in the present moment and recognizing it has certainly helped. Doing things when you think of them rather than later is tough, but it's really what makes things happen. For example, I've been attempting to work out and eat right lately, which I'm sure just about everybody does, and everybody does in phases like myself, sometimes up and down. It's tough to keep up, especially with family and demanding job. So you have a bad day, you're tired, you don't want to work out, you don't want to eat right. What do? Well, if I skip this workout tonight, I'll do 2 workouts tomorrow. Really? Are you really going to do that? Because it sounds great, but I don't think you will. Well, I really had a bad day, so I'm going to eat this ice cream tonight, maybe some pizza, but tomorrow I'm going to eat salad all day and I'm going to make up for it. Well, that's not living in the present. That's making promises to your future self, which I've been thinking about too. Don't make promises to your future self. Because what happens when you make promises to your future self? Well, you can easily and inconsequently break that promise. Because future self always has the upper hand. Like, what exactly is the past self going to do about it? Past self has no recourse because he or she is in the past. Yeah, I skipped the second salad, the second workout, or skipped the salad altogether in the workout. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. You're going to do nothing because you're past self and you have no control over future self. Your attitude and your mood is going to change from day to day. It's going to be different from who you were before. So that's why you need to do these things in the present. This includes getting out there, making decisions for your present self at your present job and the role that you're currently in. So constantly renewing your life and your job activities keeps your life and your job fresh. Keeping your job fresh in the present keeps your life fresh. Stop putting things off. Stop thinking about what you're going to do. I have to tell myself that. Now, don't get me wrong. Goals and dreams are good. They're great. But if you're falling into a rut, you're failing to realize that you're not living in the moment. You're just gonna sit in that rut. You're not gonna achieve your goal. There's a path, and you may be on a stepping stone. You may be on stepping stone 1 on that path, and you want to get to the last stone in the path. Your mundane middle steps are how you get there, and they seem boring at times. Sometimes we forget that the boring parts in the middle are what we have to do to evolve and make it to the end of the path. So we get stuck in a rut and wondering why we're not progressing down the path the whole time. You've heard of living in the past, and I call this living in the future, thinking about all the stuff that you're going to do someday. And this is what can stop you and even discourage you from achieving your goals, your personal goals, your work goals, your life goals. I have to remind myself to live in the moment constantly, as I'm sure most people do. It's hard to do. Even when I know that I should be relishing the moment, Sometimes I don't. And how many times have you let a week or a month go by and then you kind of realize it's all a blur? You have to constantly remind yourself not to let this happen, or you're going to wake up one day, you'll be age 65, and you'll have to figure out what happened. It's almost cliche, but the older you get, the more it holds true. I started realizing this more when I went to NAB. It's about refreshing your love for the game. There's video, graphics, hardware, software, all sorts of gear. And whatever it is, it's inspiring when you go there. You may be stuck in a rut or not keeping up with the current technology or trends because your schedule is busy. I get that more than anybody. But sometimes you have to go out there and you have to see stuff or do stuff to get inspired or talk to people. Maybe you can't go to Vegas, but there's local events and shows and other stuff like that. Get out there and check that out. NAB is where I started realizing that I'm taking too long to achieve the goals that I want to achieve. Not because I'm bad at what I do. What I do, I think, is coming along just fine. I'm happy with my work, but I'm still not where I'd like to be. I think that's pretty common for a lot of people, and I want to move faster. I'm concentrating right now personally on being a motion graphics guy, but maybe I'm not achieving my goal of getting a production company up and running. And maybe it's the same type of scenario with yourself. It's hard, it's time to look at right now in the present, say, what do I need to do today to move forward today? I need to get a great team together. I need to motivate them. I need to give them guidance, give them advice. And although personally I love 3D animation, I may need to spend less time doing it. Do I want to model in 3D 8 hours a day for the next 40 years? Do I love it that much? Do I actually want to retire? Do I want to start a company and lead a bunch of other designers? You've got to think about what you want to do in your current position. If you want to create something that's really special and do more than just sit and animate the rest of your life, this is what you need to be doing too. Networking is a big part of that, especially locally. So networking, as far as NAB, we were lucky enough to know a lot of people at NAB. Some that plan to go with us, some we happen to run into. I think I ran into probably at least 4 people that I didn't even know were going to be there on top of everybody else. And, many went and joined us as planned. We'd go our own ways sometimes, and we'd explore our own interests, and we'd meet up at the end of the day. And that's when the real NAB began, because networking isn't just about talking to others in your specific field, but maybe people in other fields. In fact, I think Matt and I only talked to one person really about motion graphics, and it was actually a Brograph fan we ran into, Luke. Shout out, Luke. We should have gotten a picture. I don't know why we didn't do that. But talking to others about their side of the industry is such a great thing. Kind of gives you a new perspective when you're kind of in one area for a while. And especially at NAB, there's a lot of going out, drinking, gambling, eating, spending way too much money, buying people drinks, talking, the whole thing. One of my favorite lines from a song is, "Picking up the ticket shows there's money to be made," which is one of my favorite Elliott Smith lyrics. And there's lots of interpretations of this, but for some reason, I like my own interpretation of this the best, which is, pick up the ticket because it's going to come back around. Call it karma, call it whatever, but it's going somewhere. You're moving forward. Don't worry about the future as much as right now. You have a job to do, of course. Your positivity, your perseverance, your generosity, it will all pay off, not just for you, but for those in which you surround yourself. You're going down this path, you're getting there together. And this is networking. And all the while we're at NAB, we were networking. Networking rekindles your love of the game, your love for the industry. There are people from all walks of life that I've met over the years We got to catch up with them about their specific industries and then ours, and these long-lasting relationships are really key. I'm learning that more and more as I get older. Catching up keeps you in the loop on the industry, on technology, on inside information, on what's going on. That's why even in your own local area, it's important to meet people in all fields, not just your own. Photographers, videographers, producers, lighting designers, editors, VFX artists, audio people, drone operators, the list goes on. And you never know when the opportunity is going to come up and you're going to say, you know what, I know just the guy for the job. You also never know when they'll say the same thing for you, of course. And while we're at it, I'd also like to talk about knowing your role. Know your role. Even if you are the boss, know your role. It brings me to the topic of knowing your own limits. Matt and I recently did a commercial shoot where we had a really incredible crew. Many we were working with for the first time, many people we've known for ages, still working with them for the first time, even though we've known them for ages. And some were actually in Vegas with us weeks prior. Matt and I both collaborated on writing of these commercials. But Matt assumed the role of director, and I assumed the role of producer. So we each have our own strengths in those areas, and it worked out really well. I'm super detail-oriented and anal about logistics, almost too much, almost Nazi level, which I'm sure is annoying at times, but sometimes that's what it takes to get the job done. Matt is super great at bringing a script to life, jumping in, instructing actors on exactly what the vision is, and frankly, I'm glad that that's his thing, because by the time I was done planning the shoot, producing it, I was too exhausted to do something like that. I didn't have any energy left. I was able to sit back, do my own thing, and other people fulfilled their roles. Matt was able to concentrate on directing because we both knew how to fill those roles for the other people on the crew that were required to make our own positions easier. We didn't pretend that we were awesome at everything and therefore needed to tell everybody how to do their job exactly. We already knew they were capable. Why? Because networking. Some of these guys are friends of mine from the industry, and I haven't had a chance to work with them before. But over the years, I developed a relationship with them, and it assured me that they absolutely knew what they were doing on set. Some of the crew I didn't meet for the first time until shoot day, but they were great. And that's because they were recommendations of people that I did know. Those guys weren't going to steer me wrong, that I admit, because they know what our own standards are, we know what each other's standards are. So, back to shoot day, I had certain things I had to do in order to keep the shoot going, to keep the client happy, to keep their client happy. You think I have time to debate about what f-stop to use on the camera? Of course not. Could I do it? Maybe. I'm a decent photographer, but it doesn't matter. That wasn't my role. I hired somebody to do that. And I know enough to understand the logistics of it, but I've also learned to trust others to make that decision. A good example that I've been thinking of recently about this is Mark Cuban knows how to play basketball. You see him play basketball. He knows how the point system works. He knows what a good player is. He knows what a good coach is. He knows what makes a good team, but he's not out there on the court playing the actual game because he knows his role. It's the old phrase, jack of all trades, master of none. Don't be that guy. Hire all the masters, make something successful. Don't be Jack, be Mark Cuban. I have to remind myself of this every day, and if I want to be successful, then I need to learn when to let people do their own thing. Just let them go. We pulled off a really successful commercial campaign by living in the moment, allowing people to do what they're good at, and having those great people on the crew gave us the freedom to do what we needed to do in that moment. And 1 month later, we won 2 Telly Awards for that campaign. So if you make only one promise to yourself, to your future self, make a promise not to get caught in a rut, live in the present, keep refreshing. Until next time, I'm Dave Koss. Later, bros. It's pretty good, I guess.